think Lovemarks is the highest evolved brand you can imagine. A brand that is built on trust, respect, legacy, reputation, value, and then it evolves by adding mystery, sensuality, intimacy. It moves from being irreplaceable to becoming irresistible.
Wow.
And it's a brand that creates not loyalty for a reason, but loyalty beyond reason.
Okay. Give me an example, or a couple of examples of that.
One that's very familiar with me, because I was just listening to it a few minutes ago, is the Apple iPod. Now, you look at an MP3 player, you know, pretty much they all do the same things. Some are cheaper than others, some carry more songs than others, but the iPod has 75% market share. Why? Because it's irresistible. It's a love mark, not just a brand. When you're wearing an iPod, those little buds, you're part of a community, a tribe, a family. It's saying something about you, about the way you are and the way you feel. That's very special. For me, in the sportswear business, I've been Adidas since I was 3 years old because of the stories of the Adidasler and the early footballers and so on and so forth. When I was working for New Zealand Rugby Union, the first deal we did was an apparel deal with the All Blacks and Adidas. And for me, I'm loyal beyond reason to Adidas.
Do you have to be born as a love mark, or you can transform an ordinary brand into a love mark?
I think all brands must aim to become a love mark because that's where the money is. You know, the only reason why brands were invented was to create a higher margin, to create higher profit. And what you've got now is a commodity trap where brands are fighting on price and value and benefits and so on. To get out of that commodity trap, every brand needs to go on that love mark journey because that's where the price premium is.
What would you say are the 2 or 3 key drivers to turn a brand into a love mark?
I think the first thing you've got to do is you've got to be able to give up control of the brand. Most companies are control freaks. They're management bureaucratic freaks, and they do everything by data and by research, and they're driven to control, command, and own the brand. That's not the way forward. Consumers have the power today, not brands. You've got to be able to relinquish that power to engage, to attract consumers. Second thing you've got to do is to have a purpose higher than functionality, because everyone now is interested in the environment, social causes. They're very, very informed technology-wise, and they demand a brand now to have a purpose and a mission higher than just a product benefit.
It's like adding values to the brand other than the plain functionality.
Absolutely. You've got to stand for something or you fall for everything. And those emotional values and beliefs, 80% of our decision making is made emotionally. Okay. 80%, right? We're driven by emotion, and yet most brands are still marketed rationally on price or benefit. And consumers are just going, no, you can't interrupt me, you can't yell at me, you've got to attract and engage me.
Pintar, cortar, pegar, renovar, instalar, reparar, decorar, construir. No estamos leyendo el diccionario. Somos el mástil de Antigua Guatemala, la más amplia red comercial de productos y servicios para la construcción. Nuestra red de despacho nos permite atender pedidos en todo el país. Búscanos en Facebook como El Mástil, 7832-1789 y 7873-4999.
En materiales de construcción, el mástil es la solución.
The book Biology explores the psychology behind what drives us to consume. Author, branding advisor, and marketing expert Martin Lindstrom reveals the subconscious forces that motivate us to choose one brand over another.
Let's face it, we're exposed to so many brands every day. Coca-Cola ads, Tiffany ads, everything from Swiss wrinkle creams to car ads, it's bombarding us every day. But how come some of this information goes straight into our brain and hit our subconscious mind, and how come sometimes it just passes away, we can't remember a thing? I wanted to find out. This is the reason why I conducted the largest neuromarketing study in the world. We scanned 2,000 consumers' brains, spending $7 million on finding out what really goes on in our brain. And the results were interesting. In fact, a little bit scary too. Take a look at this. Health warnings on cigarette packs are mandatory. Surgeon General's warning, you know it, right? Or what about the European versions like stopping smoking reduces the risk of fatal heart and lung diseases? You got the point? Across Asia, they're even more dramatic. You have pictures of lungs and open heart surgeries on the pack. That's how nasty they are. But do they work? Well, in fact, when we take a look at the numbers, the answer is no. In fact, from 2003 to 2006, we smoked 13% more, the same as 15 billion cigarettes every day, or 10 million cigarettes every minute. How come? What's the truth behind this? We wanted to find out. So we recruited smokers from across the world, placed them in huge scanners, and exposed them to those health warnings. We looked into an area called the nucleus accumbens. It's also called the craving spot or the pleasure zone. When you are addicted to alcohol, to drugs, to gambling, or to cigarette smoking, you'll actually see the nucleus accumbens fire up like a fireball. And what we learned was shocking. The fact is that those health warnings have absolutely no effect on our brain whatsoever. In fact, the total opposite was taking place. When people were watching those health warnings lying in the scanners, the nucleus accumbens were actually activated. They were certainly encouraged to want to smoke even more. Ever wondered why you squeeze a lime down the bottleneck of a Corona beer whenever you drink it? Is it A, because it's a ritual from 1800 something in Mexico? Or is it B, because supposedly there's so many flies in Mexico that this is the way you clean the bottleneck? Or is it C, a story developed by two bartenders in 1981 in California to see how fast a ritual can spread around the world? If you guessed C, you're right. This is branding. Branding is much more than just a logo. Think about the Coca-Cola bottle. The bottle, which was invented in 1915, had a very interesting brief behind it. The briefing was to develop a bottle design which is so recognizable that if you drop it on the floor and it smashes into thousands of pieces of glass, I can still pick up one piece of glass and recognize the brand. My question to you is, can I smash your brand? Meaning, can I own a color, or shape, or sound, whatever it is, because that is true branding. After years of studying product rituals and the effect on branding, it struck me. Are there similarities between the way our brains react to religious and spiritual symbols and the way they react to products and brands? The answer is yes. I interviewed 14 prominent leaders from various religions across the world. And what I discovered was that despite the differences, almost every one has 10 common pillars underlying their foundation. A sense of belonging, a clear vision, power from the enemy, sensory appeal, storytelling, grandeur, evangelism, symbols, mystery, or rituals. And just as I suspected, these pillars have to have a great deal in common with our most beloved brands and products. A few examples. What about Harley Davidson? The owners have their own subculture. It's a definite sense of belonging. Apple has had the same vision over the last 20 years to create products that will truly change the world. Disney, I think, is a great example of storytelling. You can't think about Disney without thinking of its colorful characters. In our brain scan study of some of the world's most smashable brands, we discovered that consumers did in fact have similar brain patterns as those of a religious experience when associated with a brand they really believed in. Up until now, most marketeers and advertisers haven't really known what drives our behavior or our preferences. But now that we know that 85% of our consumer buying habits are unconscious, by understanding our unconscious habits, we can gain a better control of what we buy as consumers and what we produce as companies. Good luck with your journey into your biology. I hope you enjoy my book.